Please stand for the gospel. The gospel reading comes from Mark, chapter 12, verses 38 through 44, which starts on page 825 in your pew Bible. As he taught, he said, "Beware of the scribes who like to walk around in long robes and to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces and to have the best seats in the synagogues and places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses and for the sake of appearance say long prayers. They will receive the greater condemnation." He sat down opposite the treasury and watched the crowd putting money into the treasury. Many rich people put in large sums. A poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which are worth a penny. Then he called his disciples and said to them, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the treasury. For all of them have contributed out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had, all she had to live on." This is the gospel of the Lord. Friends, it's good to be home. I'm overwhelmed. I'm thankful. I'm blessed to be back here doing ministry among you and doing ministry with you. So today, this morning, this weekend, my heart is full and happy to be with you all. So thank you. Now, let's get to the message. Hattie Mae Wyatt lived near a church where the Sunday school was crowded. Reverend Russell H. Conwell would encounter Hattie as he went to church each Sunday. As head of the church, Reverend Conwell told her that one day they would have buildings big enough to accommodate anyone and everyone who wanted to attend Sunday school at the church. A short time later, Hattie Mae became sick. So sick that she died as a child. Reverend Conwell was asked to officiate the funeral and was told by the child's mother that Hattie Mae had been saving her money to help build a bigger church to house the people interested in Sunday school. The mother gave the minister Hattie Mae's little purse, in which he found 57 cents that the young girl had put away. Hattie Mae died in 1886, when 57 cents was no small amount for a little girl from a poor family. Reverend Conwell converted the 57 cents into 57 pennies, then told his congregation the story of little Hattie Mae's saved gift. Like a seasoned fundraiser, he was able to sell the pennies to those in attendance for a return of approximately $250. Additionally, 54 of the original 57 pennies were returned to Reverend Conwell, and he put them on display. Some of the members of the church formed what they called the Wyatt Mite Society, dedicated to making Hattie Mae's 57 cents grow as much as possible and to purchase property for the Sunday school operations. A nearby house was purchased with the $250 that Hattie Mae's 57 cents had produced, and the rest is history. The first classes of Temple College, later known as Temple University, were held in that house. It was later sold to allow Temple College to move and grow. This, along with the Society's founding of the Good Samaritan Hospital, which is now known as Temple University Hospital in Philadelphia, are a significant testimony to the power of a very small amount of money with a very large share of commitment. A story like this reminds me of the importance of people, the importance of building relationships with people, the importance of seeing people. Reverend Conwell took the time to talk with Hattie. Reverend Conwell took the time to listen to her and see her heart. Throughout my adult life, I feel like I'm rushing from one thing to another. I need to get groceries. I need to get home to let the dogs out. I need to get to another meeting. I learned the importance of slowing down and seeing people when I started taking summer youth mission trips to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. As I started leading these trips, I felt that we were going to accomplish so much through the many work projects and VBS programs that we did. But I was humbled when I was told to slow down and learn about the Lakota people by listening, talking, and really seeing them. They told me that even though our hard work and programs were important, the relationships and time with the people were even more important. I took this lesson to heart, and after 10 summers, I realized that the most important ministry that God calls us to is to see our neighbor, to see the face of Jesus in the people that we encounter every day. In our gospel text for today, we hear the story of a widow. As we look closer into the story, we notice that Jesus is only stating what the widow is doing. We don't really know the tone of his voice or the emotion that lives within that story. Yet we have so much to learn from this text. Reverend David Lose, the senior pastor at Mount Olivet Church in Minneapolis, shares that holding the widow up as an example of faith and stewardship isn't exactly the gospel either. Rather, her example puts to shame all our meager efforts to be cheerful givers. Jesus lifted her up for their attention and sympathy. I doubt that the religious elite parading around the temple that day, or the disciples following Jesus, even noticed this woman. The widow gives all she has. This is an act of supreme generosity and faith. She has nothing left. The widow does not give out of a desire to be noticed, but rather because recognizing that all she has comes from God and she couldn't do no other. Jesus cares about this woman and her sacrifice. Jesus sees her plight and recognizes her affliction. Jesus sees her, and Jesus cares about her. In the same way, Jesus also sees our struggles. God recognizes our challenges and cares about where we are at. And God is also inviting us to look around and see each other as fellow children of God, to see those in our community we know and those we don't know. And I mean really see each other. The pain of those who are discriminated against because of their ethnicity. The desolation of those trapped by poverty. The despair of those that have lost hope. The anguish of those who have been exploited by society. God is inviting us to see them, to care for them, and to advocate for a system that does not leave anyone behind. For 7 years, I commuted to Rochester for work. As I began to drive regularly in and out of Rochester, I started to notice so many people standing on street corners asking for help. I am sure that you have seen them too. It was confusing to me. Rochester was such an affluent community. It was the home of world-renowned Mayo Clinic. For a few weeks, I had conversations with my coworkers on how they handled this obvious need every day. First, I learned about the huge gap that exists between the rich and poor in Rochester. Then they suggested an idea that I was very familiar with. Throughout my years of leading youth summer mission trips across the world, I carried fruit and granola bars with me to give to people in need. But I only did that on mission trips. Now it was different. This was every day. This was going to be my every day. The need was staring me in the face as I rushed through my daily routine. The need was challenging me to slow down, see it, and address it. The stories we heard this morning about Hattie Mae Wyatt, the widow in our gospel, and the widow of Zarephath from our Old Testament reading remind us to see our neighbor. And by doing that, it gives us a sense of urgency to reach into our souls, stretch ourselves, and partner together in our giving. We can give our time, we can give our money. Both are valued by God. Jesus invites us to imagine that it is not so much the gross amount we give of our time or money that matters, but what that amount means to us. As a church, we are called to make an impact, make a difference in the world around us. Over the past month, we have heard about Trinity in Motion. The first step of motion is to see. See the people, see the needs. God invites you and I to see. Because when God works through us, we are able to show and share grace. We are able to show and share love. We too must be actively present to make God's miracles manifest in our world today. We can't just hope and pray that people will be assisted like magic. God isn't magic. Prayer isn't magic. God is grace and action. We are grace and action. Amen.